Lupin and his gang of thieves return for another high-octane heist, and this time Lupin faces his greatest enemy, the all-seeing eye of the internet. First off, let me just say I'm actually surprised that this is the very first time I am making a Lupin the Third video on this channel. It's something that I've never really discussed before, but I absolutely love Lupin the Third. Dun 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Lupin the Third is one of the longest-running anime franchises of all time, and at this point, it's pretty much iconic. What I also really love about this anime series is that you can pretty much jump in at almost any single time and still manage to get enjoyment out of this series due to the very simple premise. It's about a famous thief named Lupin the Third and his group of thieves, which consist of Jigen, his right-hand man, who's also good with a gun, Goemon, who's an anachronistic samurai, and then, of course, the ever-alluring and not always trustworthy Fujiko Mine. They go around the world pulling off really ridiculous heists, getting all sorts of money and glory, and they are honorable thieves, to say the least. And they are constantly pursued by Detective Zenigata, which leads to all sorts of really big funny scenes, capers, and amazing chase sequences. That's all you need to know, and that's what I really love about this franchise. And so that brings us to Lupin the Third, Part 5, the next iteration in the Lupin franchise. What I've always really loved about Lupin the Third is, despite the fact that the characters might look a little dated in that they look like caricatures of 1970s anime characters, they can insert them into nearly any generation and they can still have a lot of fun. And we're gonna get topical in this brand new series, as it looks like Lupin is going to not be stealing any massive statues or golden bars or even secret artifacts from an Egyptian desert. No, he's actually going to be going after cryptocurrency. He's basically about to steal Bitcoin money, which I think we can all agree at this point in time is kind of worthless. But in the world of Lupin, it actually does have some meaning. And of course, Lupin and his friends are honorable thieves, and this entire story opens up with Lupin and Jigen and Goemon in France, and they're going after this group which is known as Marco Polo, this online group, which basically is like your run-of-the-mill Amazon, but they're secretly selling drugs and sending it through the mail. And Lupin knows a lot of money is going through this place, so they're going to try and find their way into the back door so that they can take all of that dough. The problem is they're going to have to get a hacker who's going to allow them into the back door, and they have to find out who's actually basically running the show. And that involves going through this ridiculous, elaborate sequence of dropping into this underwater facility, dodging giant fan blades, countless guards, and meeting a seemingly robotic girl who has the secrets to all of Marco Polo's dealings. The problem is, while it was pretty easy getting in, despite the fact that they were almost chopped up by a giant underwater fan blade, they've actually instigated the Lupin game. And I think that's what's going to be the best thing about this show, is that the twist is that this organization that's being stolen from now has their eyes on Lupin. They have eyes everywhere, and that's because everyone in the world is involved. Everyone who has a phone, a tablet, any sort of device can now track Lupin wherever he is going, and everybody's in on the game. So now Lupin is going to be on the run constantly, which is going to lead to all sorts of amazing chase sequences, which I think have definitely been one of the hallmarks of the entire series. That combined with the humor, the incredible art style, and just the amazing writing in these characters. There's a reason that they've endured for so long, and this is basically just more of what you want. So what's the rundown on the very first episode of Lupin the Third Part 5? I almost didn't consider reviewing Lupin because I've never actually talked about any of the other previous shows, but I really wanted to talk about this one a little bit more, as over the last couple of years, Lupin the Third has been going through a lot of like revivals and reboots. I mean, there's always been like TV specials and all that jazz, but lately we've seen a lot of really interesting things come from this franchise. One thing I will say is I think that the art style of this one right here is a little closer to the original Lupin from the 1970s. A little less more than the super exaggerated stuff that we saw from the woman called Fujiko Mine, which I'm actually kind of disappointed in saying because I absolutely love the art style of that show. But then again, that's a completely different Lupin anime, especially in terms of some of the subject matter. But still, I was kind of hoping they would go for something a little more in between that and what we actually have in the series. That being said, I'm kind of nitpicking here. This is still a really great looking anime series, which is super top notch. Despite the fact that the characters are relatively simple in terms of their design, they're very expressive. Just the way they animate him when he's going through a heist or when he's actually stealing something is just an absolute joy to watch. Especially that aha moment. I especially love the sequence in this episode where both Lupin and Jigen actually decide to jump off and like use these wingsuits to fly down past this spinning propeller, diving underwater, and they go down into this like underwater lair and they meet this girl, and she starts firing a gun at them, and Jigen realizes what sort of gun it is and how many bullets the actual clip can hold, and she should have one shot left, but when Lupin decides to go in there brazenly, he reveals that he actually already stole her bullet. Because when he first walked into the room, he was dressed as her father to try and get her attention, but he mispronounces her name. But during that moment, we get to see that he actually slipped his hand behind her, managed to take the clip out, remove one bullet, and put the clip right back in an instant. That's how good of a thief that he actually is. And really, this moment is great. This girl realizes that this guy is an expert and can probably get her out of here. She doesn't want to be here, but she can't leave of her own power. So through the might and muscle of Lupin and his team, they manage to escape. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention Goemon returning in the episode was awesome. He's just always such a really cool character. Just every single time he uses his sword, like, I love the way they animate it. They never just show him swinging it. He just sort of, like, slashes the air multiple times, and then you just get to see the destruction, and it's played to great effect right here in this episode, especially during a really fantastic chase sequence through the French countryside. I don't know what it is about the show, but they do some really great chase sequences in those cars. The choreography makes no sense and sometimes goes Looney Tunes with the way the car bounces off the walls and drives along the side and everything, but man, it is just so breakneck and thrilling. It gets you so excited. Like I said, I think it's one of the cornerstones of the entire series. Zenigata, of course, returns in the episode, is, of course, always after Lupin, and then the end of the episode, we get to see that pretty much everyone is spying on them with their phones. They know what he's doing, where he's going, and I just can't wait to see how he's actually going to escape from everyone. We even get a nice little tease for Fujiko appearing at the end of the episode, so I can't wait to see more from her, and you'll still get to see her in this episode, as she is pretty much the star of the ending, which is pretty nice, I must say. The intro itself is okay. It goes for a more stylized look, but it's basically classic Lupin with a theme and all the characters, the roll call. It's all there. Basically, if you liked old Lupin and you wanted more, with a fresh coat of paint, brand new characters, and a really interesting new story, then here it is. It's not reinventing the wheel, but for what it is just pure, good, old school anime entertainment. I highly recommend Lupin the Third Part 5. So there it is. That's my thoughts on this episode, which I am going to give, that's right, a 5 out of 5. I really had no complaints from this episode. It would be superficial at best. I thought everything was here. It was a great showcase for the characters. They're back. They haven't changed a bit, and they're still doing things in an amazing way. You think the premise would get tired at this point, but you got to give credit to the writers and the scenarios that they create for this franchise. There's a reason it's endured for so long. So that's my thoughts on the episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you guys fans of Lupin the Third? Have you been kind of on the fence about checking out this show? I highly recommend it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Are you a fan of the franchise? What do you want to see from the future of Part 5 of Lupin the Third? Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more anime reviews. The brand new anime season just began, so there is a lot of stuff. If you guys have any personal requests, tell me what they are in the comments section below. If I have the time, I will look at them. So there it is. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. And as always, stay down, baby.